Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I want to share with you some culture shocks I had experienced working with Norwegians. So for context, I work in a Norwegian based organization, and because of that I have a lot of like Norwegian colleagues, and our organization is like based in Norway, but also they have like a lot of other offices around the world, and I'm based in one of the offices. But still I work a lot with like the Norwegian colleagues because of the nature of our work. We sort of like have to work in like, you know, and I have my notes on my laptop, so I'll be looking down to like read my points because I have fish memory and I can remember everything in my head. So start just with, I think the first culture shock that I had experienced working with Norwegians is the fact that there is like equality, and like there's a flat hierarchy kind of authority, kind of like organization. So, for instance, there is no like mom, madam, sir. Like you address people based on like their first name, which for me was a bit of a culture shock. Where I'm based or where I'm from, there's like a lot of emphasis on like addressing people based on like their, like mom, madam, you know. But then working with an organization, that was not the case, because it's like, no, you're supposed to address people based on their first name. And it's even funnier because, so I have like my head supervisors, which are large Norwegians, and I address them by like the first names. And then before them, there is someone under them who I'm reporting to. But then this person in the middle, I have to address her with like, madam somebody, because she's from somewhere where this thing has a lot more weight. But the Norwegians, they're like, no, just call us by our first names because that's how it works. For the first days, really, I was like, okay. I was very scared about like calling them by their first names, because for where I'm from, that could mean disrespect. Calling like your elders by their first name could mean disrespect. But for them, I was like, this is how it goes. And I even remember one time there was like a colleague who was addressing himself by like his last name, and the Norwegian colleagues were even like, they made it like a formal complaint that no, we can't call him in his last name because where we're from, that's like very high respect, call someone by their last name. So they were like requesting for that colleague to please address himself in his first name instead of last name. Doesn't make sense. Like it's that serious for them. So that was a culture shock for me. Also, on the flat hierarchy thing, I've also seen that flat hierarchy in a lot of other ways apart from just like addressing names and stuff like that. Even when you go on like team seminars, or like there's this like work holidays and stuff, like when we as a team we like take a break together, or like if you go for a team seminar or something like that, you don't get like arranged like when you go to hotels. Basically, like you don't get a room based on like your position. Maybe like the supervisor gets like the best room and then you get like the mediocre room and stuff like that. No, like, and that had been the case like for other previous local organizations that I'd worked for. In most cases, like when you travel as a team, your boss gets like the best room and then you get like the next grade of the rooms. But for Norwegian's organization, it's like you are all you all be kept in like the same class of the rooms. Like if the organization decides we're going for like the best rooms in the hotel, everyone gets the best room in the hotel. If we decide we're settling for the second class, everyone sits in the second class. So I like that because there's not the segregation of like who gets what. It's always like flat. So if you're going for the best, like my manager, me, like everyone else gets like, that was quite interesting to like kind of see in real life and to get to experience it. So I really loved the flat hierarchy thing in like with working with Norwegians. The second culture shock that I'd experienced is the fact that there is really no micromanagement. It's like they teach you the job, they trust you to do the job, and they just leave you to do the job for as long as you deliver, keeping time. They're like fine with it. Ideally, that's how work is supposed to be, but I think I've worked in a place before where there was a lot of micromanagement. I mean, they used to micromanage me so much that I started to doubt my own abilities. I was like, do I even know what I'm doing? Because like this guy is on my neck. And then I come to like an Norwegian organization. It's just like, I think the only time where I had to get assistance to do my work was like the first week of my arrival. And then after that, I was like, okay, do you? Here are the deliverables. This is what we expect from you, and this and this. And they're like, do your work. So I think that element of like no micromanagement, there is a lot of trust in you, and it's up to you if you're gonna keep that trust by keeping on delivering and keeping the time for the deliverables, or if you're gonna break it and then they start like questioning your ability to do the work. But they give you like all the autonomy you need to like be able to flourish in your career and to be able to do the things that you are skilled to do. So in a way, they build you up, and I think that culture also builds a lot of self confidence, because when people leave you to do your work in your own terms, you start believing in yourself a bit more because you know the trust has been set in you. So I like that. Another culture shock is like the way they're organizing their common holidays. So the organization that I work for, we tend to have like common holidays where everyone is expected to be on leave. So for the ones that are based in Norway, usually it's like the summertime. They take like all of the summer off, like at least a month. So there's a full month where everyone in the office is not available because they're going for summer. There's also another common holiday in like December and like around Easter, and everyone has to take the common holidays and the office closes. And for me, this is a good thing and a bit of a culture shock, because the organization that I'd worked for before, sometimes you'd find yourself having to work on a holiday on like Christmas or Easter or something, because the managers will be like, no, we can't close the office. Not everyone should go to leave. Like you should take turns. So I really loved and acknowledged the fact that the Norwegians had this culture where like during the times where everyone needs to go on leave, we can all go to leave and make this like a common holiday for all of us and just close the office. You know, it's that simple. So that was also very nice. Like I really like the idea of common holidays, because no one wants to be working on Christmas, honestly. Like if you can close this down, let's just close this place down, you know. So I really love that one. Another culture shock that I had seen is how much they're enforcing in like women empowerment. I don't have the data, but if I just look at if I just look at our office structure, like most of like the top management is women, and like yeah, if I just it's like it's 70% women and it's 30% men. And even in the projects that we're working in, we're very much enforcing like women empowerment, women taking on leadership positions, and women like being in the forefront. So I know Scandinavians are really like big on like women empowerment, but I think like work and I'd known of that in the back of my mind, but I didn't know of how much they're actually putting it to practice until I started working in a Norwegian organization, and then I could actually see like how much they're really practicing it. Like it's quite empowering for a woman to see that, especially if you wanna like walk the career path and stuff, to see like how far things could go for you. It's very inspiring in a way. And that was a culture shock for me, because even like my previous job, for instance, like there was no one in the of my company's board. There was no one who was a woman, and in all the top management, it was like all men. You could only see a woman in like middle manager level up to like officers and stuff like that. But in the top, it was all men. And then I come to a Norwegian organization, and then it's like all of the top is like 80% women and like 30 to 20% men. So that was quite a twist. And at first, I wasn't like very used to like having a woman leader. So at first, I was like, oh my God. But then later, I got used to it, and it was quite impressive to see like women taking leadership roles and like the acting. It's quite nice to see. So that was also a culture shock for me. Some other shocks that I'd experienced, things like open conversations, like how you could just like have conversation with your supervisors, your managers, and stuff like that at all levels. Like they don't have to be serious and stuff like that. So that was also something, because they tend to like they're breaking the hierarchy where you have to. So it's a bit, you can have conversations with like anyone in the office, which is quite nice. And it just like brings in room for like new ideas and stuff like that, because you don't have to worry, oh, I'm not following like the hierarchy steps, I'm supposed to talk to this before this one. You can like have conversations with like anyone, and it's very much okay. And another thing is like the eco-friendly practices. Like the Norwegian organizations are very serious about like eco-friendly practices, and because I work in like marketing and communications, like even the materials, the communication materials that I'm preparing, like I'm usually very much reminded to be conscious of using like eco-friendly materials and like prioritizing eco-friendly materials than like anything else. So I've seen companies who have been like saying they're eco-friendly practicing and stuff like that, but they don't. But when I started working with the Norwegian organization, I could actually see that they actually mean what they're saying, because they say they're prioritizing eco-friendly practices, and they actually do that from like the marketing materials that they're providing, from like the communications material, from like even the way the organization is set. Setting it in a way that it prioritizes eco-friendly practices. So it's quite nice to see that people are sort of like practicing what they're preaching. And it's also quite nice to see like how different cultures could have different perspectives on things. For instance, like the naming things, like addressing people on either their first name or their last name. For me, it wasn't really a big deal just addressing someone by their surname, because we also, like, back in school, we used to like make jokes a lot about like if your dad's name is funny, you would always go by your dad's name, you know. But it was quite interesting to see that, come to interact with someone who thought addressing someone with their last name is the highest form of respect. And I was like, oh, okay, I never thought of it that much, but I get it. And it's just enlightening to like get exposed to all of these facts. So that's that was my culture shock so far. I'd like to know if you've ever interacted with like Norwegian, and like what has been your like culture shocks that you're with like working with them or just like living with them, interacting with them in any way, in the comments down below. And let me know if you need to see more of these videos. And yeah, that's it for this video. Until next time, adios.